Hello, friends. A Boeing 747 was ready for takeoff on the runway. In the thick fog, the pilot pushed the throttle forward, turned on the lights, and the plane had now reached takeoff speed. A speed where stopping is nearly impossible. But then, a dark shape appeared through the fog. It was another Boeing 747 coming from the opposite direction, just a few meters away, on the same runway. It's hard to imagine what happened next. How did things go so wrong? What was the air traffic controller doing? And what was the one small mistake that led to the worst disaster in aviation history? This tragic event happened in Spain's Canary Islands. The world now remembers it as the Tenerife airport disaster. Let me take you back one day before the crash to understand how it all began. The story starts on March 26, 1977. Pan Am Flight 1736, a Boeing 747 jumbo jet, took off from Los Angeles Airport. It was scheduled to stop at New York to pick up more passengers and then fly to its final destination, Las Palmas, a city in the Canary Islands across the ocean. It was a chartered flight, so all the seats were full. Most passengers were older people going on a cruise in Las Palmas. Las Palmas is the capital of the Canary Islands. It's the southernmost part of Spain, about 100 kilometers from Morocco. The place is known worldwide for its beautiful tropical weather. But in 1977, behind this beauty, there was trouble. A group called MPA-IAC wanted the Canary Islands to be independent from Spain. They often used violence for their cause. One of those violent events started the chain of problems that led to this disaster. Pan Am Flight 1736 left New York's JFK Airport, heading to Las Palmas. The crew included 56-year-old Captain Victor Grubbs, 39-year-old First Officer Robert Brack, and 46-year-old Flight Engineer George Vaughn. Along with 13 flight attendants, there were 380 passengers. Now let's talk about the other aircraft involved in the crash. KLM Flight 4805, another Boeing 747, was preparing to fly from Amsterdam, Netherlands to Las Palmas. It had 235 passengers, 11 flight attendants, and in the cockpit were 50-year-old Captain Jacob van Zanten, 42-year-old First Officer Klaus Meers, and 48-year-old Flight Engineer Willem Schroeder. Both planes were heading to Las Palmas Airport in the Canary Islands. But something happened at Las Palmas. Two men walked into the airport terminal, left a bag outside a flower shop, and disappeared. Inside the bag was a bomb with a countdown timer. At exactly 1 p.m., a phone call came to the airport reception. The caller claimed to be from the MPA-IAC group and warned that bombs would explode at the airport in 15 minutes. The airport was evacuated quickly. Within 15 minutes, everyone was outside. Then, right on time, a huge explosion happened. Part of the terminal roof collapsed. Because of the bomb, all flights were canceled, and incoming flights were diverted to other airports. KLM Flight 4805, which was close to landing, was told to go to Tenerife Airport, about 110 kilometers away. At 1:38 p.m., KLM landed there. At the same time, Pan Am Flight 1736, also nearing Las Palmas, was also told to land at Tenerife. Since it was the nearest airport, many flights were being redirected there. Tenerife was a small airport in a mountainous area near the Atlantic Ocean. Its elevation is about 2,000 feet. Because of the nearby mountains, clouds and fog could appear suddenly. When moist ocean air hits the mountains, it rises, cools quickly, and becomes fog or clouds. This weather shift was common here. When both planes landed at Tenerife, visibility was good. But suddenly, thick fog rolled in, and the view dropped drastically. One moment you could see only 300 meters, and the next moment up to 2 kilometers. Passengers got off the planes to stretch and relax after the long flights. Since KLM Flight 4805 was going to return to Amsterdam, the crew refueled the aircraft to save time later. But then came news that Las Palmas Airport had reopened. Both flights reboarded their passengers, but there was a problem. KLM's refueling truck was blocking the taxiway.
Tenerife Airport had only one runway, one taxiway, and one terminal area. Having jumbo jets like these there was very rare. Pan Am couldn't move until KLM finished refueling. Finally, at 4:45 p.m., refueling was done and KLM began taxiing. The airport was crowded, so the controller told KLM to use the runway to taxi to the end, do a 180-degree turn, and prepare for takeoff. Pan Am was also told to follow KLM on the runway, but take the C3 exit to leave the runway and wait. But visibility was terrible and getting worse. KLM reached the eastern end of the runway, turned around, and was now in position for takeoff. Pan Am also began taxiing, but in the fog, they missed the C3 exit. They passed C1 and C2, but couldn't see C3, which led back to the terminal. Also, Tenerife Airport lacked proper signs, making it harder for the crew. At the same time, KLM asked for takeoff permission. But the air traffic controller's reply did not include permission to take off. Instead, he just explained the route they should take after liftoff. KLM's captain thought they were cleared for takeoff and said, "We are at takeoff." Whether he said "we are at takeoff" or "we are taking off" is still debated. The controller replied "okay," but a few seconds later added clearly, "Stand by for takeoff, I will call you." This meant, "Do not take off yet." But that message never reached KLM. At the same time, Pan Am's crew was also talking to the tower saying, "We are still on the runway." Both messages overlapped and caused a loud sound or distortion in KLM's radio, so the captain didn't hear the warning. Pan Am had now crossed C3 without knowing it. The controller asked them to confirm when they exited the runway, and they replied, "Okay." But by now, KLM's captain had already pushed the throttle, thinking he had permission. KLM's flight engineer heard Pan Am's message and warned the captain, saying Pan Am was still on the runway. But the captain replied, "Oh yes," and continued the takeoff anyway. Because of the fog, he could see only 300 meters ahead. Suddenly, Pan Am's pilots saw bright lights coming through the fog. At first, they thought KLM was stopped, but then they realized it was rushing toward them. Pan Am tried to turn off the runway, but it was too late. KLM's right engine hit Pan Am's first-class cabin, and its landing gear broke off. The plane crashed 150 meters down the runway and burst into flames. KLM's fuel tank was full, so the fire was extremely intense. All 248 people on KLM died instantly. Pan Am's first-class passengers also died on the spot, but some in economy class escaped through a hole in the roof. Others jumped down from 20 feet to survive. Out of 396 people on Pan Am, only 61 survived. Because of the fog, the control tower didn't know the crash had happened. Another plane on the ground saw the flames and alerted the tower. Fog also delayed the arrival of rescue teams. In total, 583 people died in this disaster. Afterward, the black boxes from both planes were recovered. They revealed everything we've shared in this video. Investigators found that a series of events caused the crash. The bomb blast at Las Palmas, KLM blocking the taxiway to refuel, Pan Am missing the C3 exit, poor visibility and lack of airport signs. But the main blame was placed on KLM's crew for starting takeoff without clear permission, even though the flight engineer had tried to stop it just 5 seconds before. The Tenerife airport disaster was a wake-up call for aviation. After this, the whole aviation industry changed.
Stricter communication rules were introduced. Airport radar systems became mandatory. Runway markings and signs were improved everywhere. Today, Tenerife has 2 airports. The one where this crash happened is now called Tenerife North Airport. A newer airport in the south has lower elevation and visibility there is not affected as much by fog and clouds. We hope you found this video informative. Please like and share it. Thanks for all your kind comments. Don't forget to subscribe to It's Released. See you in the next amazing video.